Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Kevin and welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make your own vulnerability management lab using Qualys Community Edition. As some of you may know, I'm a vulnerability management administrator, and essentially what my job duties are is to scan and identify the network for vulnerabilities and to remediate them. The whole goal is to reduce the number of vulnerabilities that a company has to an acceptable level. So I scan and discover the vulnerabilities, I prioritize which assets need to be focused on first, assess those vulnerabilities, report these vulnerabilities to the respective SMEs, then we begin the remediation process. Then once they say that the vulnerabilities are no longer gone, then I verify that through scanning the devices again. And then after verification, I just end up repeating the same process over and over again. The task never ends because new vulnerabilities are discovered almost on a daily basis. And it's the responsibility of the vulnerability management administrator or analyst to continuously assess those vulnerabilities and, well, manage them. So if you follow along with this lab, you'll kind of get a rough idea on what my job is like. And if you keep practicing with it enough and kind of get your hands dirty playing with it, such as like adding different outdated software or kind of messing around with some of the settings, you'll be able to add this onto your resume and it's going to look something like this. So Qualys is a very popular tool that many organizations use to scan their network for vulnerabilities and perform threat assessments. Qualys also has a free community edition that anyone can use, but you're only limited to scanning 19 devices. But in this lab, that's going to be more than enough. We're actually only going to be scanning a Windows 10 virtual machine where we're going to be installing an outdated software like VLC Media Player and Firefox. If you like this video, please hit the like. If you want to see more future content, please subscribe. And well, let's begin. Alright, so first things first, we're going to be installing a virtual machine software, and in this case, I'm going to be using VirtualBox. It's the one that I prefer the most, but if you have VMware, then you can use that too. So we're just going to go ahead and click download. Yeah, and here you're basically just going to go through the installation process. I already have it installed, but if you're barely installing it, then go ahead and just go through the installation process. Alright, so for the next step, we're going to be downloading the Windows 10 ISO so we can install it on our virtual machine. Yeah, so you're just going to go to the Microsoft website, download the Windows 10 installation media. So once you download the Windows 10 installation media, you're going to double click it. And then just go through the process here. So once you get to this page, you're going to click on create installation media. You're going to hit next again, and you're going to download the ISO file. You're going to hit next again, and you're going to pick where you want the ISO download to go. Hit save, and then just wait until the ISO finishes downloading. So while we wait for this to finish downloading, we're going to be downloading the outdated software. So we're going to go to the VLC Media Player website and just pick any old one. I would say maybe VLC 1.1.1. Then you're going to go all the way down here to the Win32 installer and just wait for this to finish downloading. Alright, and then now we're going to be downloading the old version of Firefox. You're going to go to this website. By the way, all the links used in this project are going to be down in the description below. So now we're going to go straight down here, scroll down till you get to the directory of other versions and languages. And yeah, so just pick any old version. The older you get, the more vulnerable it becomes. But let's just stick with, I don't know, version 104. Then you're going to click on Win32, and then you're going to pick the language of your choice, English US, and you're going to be downloading the installer. Alright, so it looks like the Windows 10 installation media is almost done. So we'll just go ahead and start downloading the Qualys Community Edition. So in order to download the Qualys Community Edition, you're going to need a work email or a school email. Or you can also make your own email domain through Google. It's pretty cheap. I made one. I spend maybe like $6 a month. So when you make a brand new account, you don't need to give like all of the information right off the bat. You can just kind of fake any kind of information you want and just hit sign up. After that, you're going to receive an email which will give you the instructions you need to install Qualys. Alright, so the email is going to look something like this. You're going to go ahead and click this link and put in the one-time code. So once you put in the code, it's now going to give you your user account password. Now you're going to click this link and put in your username and the password that it provided you. So now for the next page, it's just going to ask you for more information. Again, you can kind of put in whatever you want in this field. It doesn't need to be accurate. So now once you fill in the information, you're going to go ahead and click accept, and I agree. So once we get to this page, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to configure and download our virtual scanner appliance. So you're going to be clicking on download a virtual scanner. We're going to click on get started, start the wizard, and just name your scanner whatever you want. I'll name mine Qualys VA. Here we're going to click on VMware ESXi standard, hit next. So after hitting next, it's going to start to download the OVA file, and that's the file that we're going to use to set up in the VirtualBox. On this page, you're going to scroll down and you're going to hit next. It's going to provide you a personalization code that you're going to input in the virtual machine that we'll be setting up in a little bit. So now you're going to go ahead and open up VirtualBox, and once you open it up, it's going to look something like this. Over here, it might be empty for you, depending if it's going to be your first install. And now we're going to set up the Qualys virtual appliance. You're going to click on File, click on Import, and here's where we're going to import the OVA file that we just downloaded. I had mine downloaded in the download section. Click it once, click open, you're going to hit next again, and then here we are. So it looks like I forgot to hit record in the next step, but basically what I did was, after I finished installing the Qualys scanner, you're going to double click it, it's going to open up this window. You'll see a couple penguins here pop up. Just let it load. Once it finishes loading, you're going to get to this page. Here is where you're going to put in the personalization code that your profile provided you. If you cannot see your mouse, or if you can't get out of this window, hit right control so you can see your mouse again. After you put in the personalization code, it's going to start connecting to your Qualys cloud profile. And this usually takes a couple minutes, maybe like 5-6 minutes. Just wait. Alright, so once it finished configuring itself, you're going to see the private IP address that the virtual machine is going to be using. We're going to go back to the window where you get your personalization code, and you're going to check for activation. Here it's going to verify that your appliance is active and running. After verifying if it's successfully connected, then you're going to see your appliance here in the appliance tab. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the IP range that Qualys will be scanning. So we're going to go to Assets, and then you're going to click on Add IPs for scanning. We're going to hit New. We're going to hit IP tracked addresses, and we're going to go to Subscription IPs. So this is going to be a very important part. The IP range that you're going to provide Qualys is going to be based off of the IP range that your home router provides. So if your home router provides an IP address of 192.168.1.5, then pick a range between 2 to 18. Alright, so once you put in the range, you're going to go ahead and click add, and then it's going to pop up right here. Alright, so now basically you already have Qualys fully set up and ready to go. Now we're going to go ahead and start making the Windows 10 virtual machine. So now we're going to go back to VirtualBox. We're going to click New. We're going to make sure that we're creating a Windows 10 virtual machine. And now we're going to name it whatever we want. We're going to pick the ISO, which is going to be your Windows 10 ISO. We're going to go to unattended install, pick your username, your password, and change your host name. Then you're going to go ahead and click finish, and it's going to start to boot up the Windows 10 installer, and just wait for it to finish. Alright, so once you finally get to the Windows 10 desktop, you're going to click on devices. You're going to click on insert guest edition CD image. You're going to open that CD image right over here. Click on VBox Windows Editions, hit next, and then you're going to install it. Once the guest editions is done installing, we're going to click on devices. You're going to go to drag and drop and make sure you have bidirectional set up. Once you have the guest editions installed, you're going to go all the way down where you see all these little icons. Make sure you click on this one right here where it says the network adapter. You're going to right click, click on network settings, and you're going to do bridged adapter so it can start talking to your internal network. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're now going to copy over the outdated software onto the virtual machine. And now we're just going to go ahead and start to install them. The next thing that we're going to do is we're now going to assign the virtual machine an IP address that is within the range that you assigned the Qualys scanner for. So we're going to go to the start page. We're going to go to the control panel. We're going to network and internet, network and sharing center, click on Ethernet, properties, scroll down till you get to the Internet Protocol version for TCP IPv4. We're going to go to properties and we're going to assign it a static IP address. So we're going to do 192.8.0. We'll do 7. The subnet mask and the default gateway 192.168.0.1. Hit OK. Click close. Alright, so you pretty much have your Windows 10 machine already configured. To make sure that the IP address of the machine is working, you're going to go to your main computer, go to command prompt, and then you're going to ping the IP address that you assigned it. So ping 192.168.0.7, and you can tell that it is alive. So the IP address is working for the machine, and now we're pretty much going to start scanning. So we're going to go back to Qualys. You're going to go to scans. You're going to go to option profiles. Here we're going to make our own type of scan. So we're going to click new option profile. We'll just call it, you know, basic net scan, right? Once we click on scan, we're going to pretty much leave everything by default, including authentication. Right now, we're going to do a non-authenticated scan. Later in the video, I'm going to show you how to do an authenticated scan. But just for a quick explanation, a non-authenticated scan, since it just scans the machine's anything that's external facing, so for example ports. For an authenticated scan, you provide the scanner the credentials to actually go inside the machine to perform a deeper vulnerability scan. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and click save. And now you'll see the profile that you created right over here. Now we're going to go to scans. Once we're in scans, we're going to click new, click on scan. For the title, name it whatever you want. Basic Win10 scan. For the option profile, we're going to pick the basic network scan that we created. Processing priority, leave it at 0. Scanner appliance, we're going to pick the appliance that we created. And for the asset here, we're going to put the IP address that we set up for the Windows 10 machine. So, and once we have that, click launch. And essentially here, we just wait for the scan to complete. So the scan ended up failing because I forgot to make one last configuration on the Windows 10 machine. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. We're going to be turning off the firewall. So we're going to go to the start button, go to firewall, and I already turned them off. But to do that, you're going to click on turn off Windows Defender and just go ahead and click off on all of them. Click OK. We're going to go to the Windows machine, our main machine, and just make sure that it is alive. 168.0.9. I also changed the IP address of the machine because I already had another device with the IP address I set originally. But now you can see that it is alive. Now we're going to go back to Qualys and we're going to click on the same scan, click on the little arrow down and hit relaunch. And we're also going to change the IP address to the one that I set up again. Hit launch. And then now we wait. Alright, so it looks like it finished. We're going to click on it. And now it gets to view the results. Here is where it's going to start to generate the report. And you get to see what kind of vulnerabilities it has while performing an unauthenticated scan. So after the report has been generated, you really can't see any vulnerabilities appearing. Just only a few negligible ones. But now we're going to start to perform an authenticated scan. In a real world scenario, Qualys would have its own admin profile to perform these authenticated scans. But in this case, we're just going to be using the admin profile that we created initially. So any configurations that you make here, the Qualys profile should be the ones who have it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to services. We're going to look for remote registry, and we're going to change it to automatic. Hit apply, and we're also going to start it. After that, we're going to go to server, and we're going to do the same thing. So make sure it's set to automatic. Click OK. All right, next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the sharing settings. Make sure that network discovery and printer sharing is turned on. Another thing that you should also do is to change the UAC. So you go to user account control settings, and normally it's going to be up here. All you need to do is just change it all the way down and then click OK, and that's it. All right, and then one additional step, we're going to make another edit in the Windows registry. So you're going to hit start, go to reg edit, and then you're going to go to computer, HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, policies, and system. Here we're going to right click, go to new, and we're going to do a D word. When you create the D word, the value name is going to be local account token filter policy, and you're going to set the value from 0 to 1. And your machine should now be ready for an authenticated scan. So now let's go back to Qualys. We're going to click on authentication. We're going to click on new, operating system, hit Windows, and here's where we're going to provide the Windows 10 credentials. So you can name it Win10 credentials. We're going to go to login credentials. We're going to go to local, and then we're going to put in the username of the profile that you created. I named mine admin, and then the password. We're going to click on both of them, hit save. Whoops, forgot to add the IP. You're going to put in the IP address of the machine that you're trying to perform an authenticated scan to. Hit save. Once you already have your credentials, you're going to go back to the option profiles. You're going to click your basic network scan. We're going to edit it. Click on scan. And now we're going to click on the Windows authentication section. Hit save. And now we're going to perform the same scan all over again. We'll do a new one this time. So Win10 authenticated scan. Same thing, no low priority. Pick your virtual appliance, hit launch. Alright, so it looks like it finished scanning. I actually had to scan it a second time because it turns out that I accidentally gave the wrong authentication information. I actually put in the wrong password. So once I fixed that and rescanned it, let's go ahead and see the results. So for comparison, this was the result of the non-credentialed scan, right? It only saw the ports that were open, and with a credentialed scan, the severity is much higher. The way to rate these reports goes as follows. Every vulnerability has a risk score or a risk rating, and the higher the risk score it has, the more potential it can do harm to your machine. And also another thing is that almost every vulnerability contains a CVE, or a common vulnerability and exposure. Think of it as a form of an ID, so that if you have this vulnerability listed on your organization, you can look up the CVE to find more information on the vulnerability. So if you look at the report, not only did it discover vulnerabilities on VLC Media Player, it looks like it also discovered vulnerabilities for Microsoft Edge. And if you look more information, it also provides a solution. It looks like it's saying that the solution is to upgrade Edge to a higher version. So we can go ahead and start doing that later on. And you can also see that one of the vulnerabilities present is that the profile contains a default admin account name. Remember, I named one of my profiles just admin, which is also another vulnerability. Let's go back to our Windows 10 machine, and we're going to uninstall these softwares. So we're going to go ahead and leave the first machine alone, just for comparison. And after making the changes on the second machine, we're going to go ahead and relaunch the scan. So the scan finally finished, and just for comparison again, this was the report previously before we made any changes. There were a total of 117 higher rated vulnerabilities for the second machine. And now, after making those changes, there's now a total of 27 vulnerabilities remaining. So it looks like our remediation tactics ended up working. If you were following along with this video, I would encourage you to keep looking at these vulnerabilities and look at the solutions and see if you could implement them into your Windows 10 machine and perform the scan again. The more vulnerabilities you remediate, the more comfortable you'll feel talking about them when you do land that first interview. And if you want to take an even bigger step, Qualys does offer free vulnerability management training, and after every single one of these modules, you do get a certification, which you can also put in your resume. They even offer training for PCI compliance, endpoint detection and response, and a lot more other training. So I would highly suggest you looking to this website and kind of keep learning more to make yourself a more competitive person when you start applying for jobs like these. And well, that completes the lab. If you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comment section below. Vulnerability management doesn't only pertain to Windows 10 computers. There are vulnerabilities everywhere, like in IP phones, routers, switches, cell phones, and even printers. Due to separation of duties, a VM analyst doesn't directly remediate every vulnerability themselves. They may notify the correct department or team so they can go ahead and fix those vulnerabilities. If you like this type of video, I'll probably turn it into a series and add even more stuff to our virtual environment, maybe like adding another virtual scanning tool like Nessus, or building a Linux web server to discover vulnerabilities on that. And that just about wraps up this video. If you liked it, please hit the like. If you want to see more future content, please subscribe, and take care everyone.